You won't believe what Lisa Weiss just exposed after more than 30 years of silence. What started as a quiet confession has now erupted into a stunning revelation that could shatter the carefully curated image of one of the most well-known Christian marriage counselors in America, Dr. Doug Weiss. For decades, he was the go-to expert for couples seeking guidance on loyalty, love, and covenant marriage. But behind the closed doors of his own home, a very different story was unfolding, one filled with betrayal, emotional abandonment, and devastating hypocrisy. She managed the home, raised their children, and clapped from the sidelines while Doug soaked in the applause from audiences around the world. On stage, he told others how to love their wives, how to remain faithful, how to stay present. Lisa tried to fix it. She planned date nights, wrote heartfelt notes, started conversations, but Doug, she says, was always somewhere else, physically home, emotionally gone. But Lisa says that behind the scenes, he was a ghost, emotionally absent, unreachable, and dismissive of her needs. And the worst part, the woman whose face had been seen alongside Doug's at conferences and church events for years. In a stunning turn of events, Doug's new beginning was splashed all over Christian media. Smiling wedding photos, social media posts about God's perfect timing, and glowing tributes to a miracle love story. He didn't have to raise his voice or slam a door, he simply stopped seeing her. And now, his ex-wife Lisa is breaking her silence. And what she reveals might end everything. Doug and his new wife, Joni, have work to build. Social media posts hailed the new couple as pastors reposted wedding photos with captions about redemption. And now, she was being erased to place, not just in his life, but in the eyes of the church and the world. Meanwhile, Lisa sat in her living room, scrolling through the same pictures, wondering if anyone even remembered she existed. She shares the quiet heartbreak of years spent begging for connection while pretending everything was fine. She talks about the toll it took on her identity, her faith, and her mental health. She would wait for him to come home from yet another conference, another speaking engagement, another flight only to sit across from a man who barely looked her in the eyes, still trying to explain to their kids how everything they once believed in had changed overnight. What she wants is something far more powerful. Truth, unheard in their own homes and erased in their own communities. You are not asking for too much, and you are not alone. Clarity, healing. She's showing the world that even in betrayal, you can find freedom. Even in abandonment, you can find yourself again. And then, he'd get up and do it all again. Was there emotional overlap between Doug and Joni before the divorce? Had seeds been planted while Lisa was still begging God to heal her home? Lisa didn't want to believe it. But the questions wouldn't go away, and neither would the pain. You may have seen Doug Weiss on TV, speaking at publishing books on how to protect your marriage from infidelity and emotional drift. He was trusted, admired, respected. A man who made his living teaching others how to protect what matters most. But as it turns out, he couldn't protect his own. Because sometimes the truth doesn't come from the pulpit. It comes from the one who stood quietly behind it for 30 years. And now, the woman who stood beside him for 3 decades, his wife, his partner, the mother of his children's coming forward with a voice that has been buried for far too long. Lisa Weiss isn't holding back. She's not just sharing secrets, she's rewriting the story. And once you hear her side, you'll never look at Doug Weiss the same way again. For over 30 years, Lisa supported Doug's ministry. Lisa describes a home where silence replaced connection, where affection became obligation, and where the man known for saving marriages didn't seem to be fighting for his own. Imagine watching your husband stand on a stage, preaching about how husbands should pursue their wives, while you're sitting at home wondering if you even matter anymore. And then came the final blow. In 2024, shortly after their divorce was finalized, Doug to Joni, yes, that, Joni, the Christian TV personality. But for Lisa, it was a nightmare. She wasn't just watching her ex-husband remarry, she was watching him be celebrated for it while she was still grieving, still healing. The timeline felt too fast, too perfect. Rumors started flying. And then came the worst part, silence. Lisa's pain wasn't just personal, it was invisible. Friends who once prayed with her now congratulated Doug. She had given her life to this man's mission, built their family, held him up while he became a public figure. But Lisa is done being silent. In her powerful and emotional testimony, Lisa reveals the truth about what it's like to love someone who becomes a stranger. But most of all, she reclaims her story. Lisa isn't out for revenge. She's not trying to cancel anyone. And make no mistake, Lisa's story is resonating with thousands of women who have felt unseen in their own marriages. She's reminding them, you are not crazy. So, what really happened between Doug Weiss and Joni? Why did Doug move on so quickly? What was going on behind the scenes while he was preaching about faithfulness? And how is Lisa finally stepping out from the shadows to take back her voice? At Jeff News, we're bringing you the real story, raw, unfiltered, and without the PR spin. Subscribe now and stay tuned, because this story is far from over. And trust us, the next chapter might be the most explosive one yet.